What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Joby Butler Has a Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a good friend, talented artist, and on the verge of releasing a new EP.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Nathan Winkelmes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, of course. What's
Yeah,
going
man.
on, man?
Not a whole lot. Just been working, trying to get this EP out. We have 3 songs coming out in the fall sometime. Still kind of up in the air about what exact date we're going to choose, but we
Can't
will.
rush perfection.
Yeah,
Man.
exactly. Can't. We will have a single though coming out August 30th.
August
last
30th.
Friday in August.
So it'll be a little while after this episode airs.
Yes, sir.
And actually, while we're talking about it, you have a show coming up.
I do.
July 26th.
July 26th. Yep.
At Campus Gateway.
Yep. Campus Gateway.
Still called Campus Gateway, right?
I think, or yeah.
Is it maybe just Gateway
Maybe
now?
it's just Gateway.
I think it might be Gateway.
Yeah, I think
now.
it's just Gateway. But yeah, CD 1025 and a company in Columbus called The Wild Path are putting on a show. It's like a summer series.
Right.
So I'll be playing an hour spot. I think I go on at 5 o'clock. And it'll be fun. It's gonna be like a happy hour vibe.
People always dig the happy hour
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah. I think there's gonna be a patio too. I don't know exactly where I'm gonna be set up, but I'm excited. It'll be fun. Hopefully
Cool.
there's a lot of
That'll be a
people
good
there,
show. So
yeah,
you guys
absolutely.
all head out there and enjoy Nathan's
Yes,
tracks. We listened to the tracks before we started.
we did. Yeah.
Sounds great, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
I'm
that.
excited for it.
Yeah. It's been a long process getting them done. We were just talking before we started rolling about how, at least for me, when I was younger, I never understood why it took artists so long to put out music.
Yeah.
And then I started trying to put out music, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, when you're younger, you always bitch like, "What's my favorite?" But the last album came out a year ago.
Yeah, and you're like now like a year is like nothing, and you're like,
Well,
man,
and
what?
you also factor
What
in,
happened?
too, most of these artists and bands put out an album and then they go tour it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So it's like it's like usually a couple years.
Yeah, and there you don't see, usually you go on your tour and then you have to have at least 6 months back home to really, dive into the next record, and that's if you're writing on the road too.
So tell me about this EP. 3 songs.
3 songs.
Right?
Yep.
Titles of the songs.
Yeah, so we're gonna have the single that comes out is called "Love Me Tonight." Like I said,
Fantastic
Thank
track.
you, thank you, sir.
Fantastic.
Yeah, super excited about that one. That will be what date did I say? August 30th.
Yeah.
That will come out.
So speaking of this track,
Yes.
"Love Me Tonight," what was the writing process for this
So this. So, writing process on "Love Me Tonight" was one of those ones, strangely, that kind of all came out at once. I was just sitting on my bed at home one night and just started, strumming a chord, as they say.
Are any of these songs about a female?
Most of
female?
them,
Or just a
most
female
of them
general?
are more about a time in life that was in my life that was centered around a female.
A female.
Yeah.
So
So
is she gonna hear these songs and think that they're about her?
probably. Yeah, probably.
What are your thoughts about what she's gonna think?
Well,
about
it's
it?
funny because I used to, when I wrote this song's a couple years old actually.
Right.
I've been playing it out for
Well,
a long
I
time.
remember hearing it. Well, not this one. I heard
Yeah, you
another
heard a different
right?
one, but
Heard the other one.
this song's been written for a long time. And when I first wrote it, I felt very differently about it than I do now. So when I first wrote it, I was like, yeah, I can't fucking wait for you to hear this. Like, you're gonna fucking wish,
Yeah. You were gonna rue the day.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's kind of like, I hope you don't actually feel the way that I hoped that you would.
Right.
Just because time marches on.
But
as
isn't
they
that
say,
that's the kind of cool thing about music, though,
yeah,
too, right?
Yeah, because it glues you into that moment, right? Because I can remember that exact time.
Sure, it takes you to a certain time and place, but it also evolves, and you have a completely different perspective on it.
You don't realize that, and that's something when I first started in music, I would get very concerned with, like, oh man, I'm not writing enough, or I don't have enough songs,
right.
Or, I need to be like, just cranking it out, and I'm just have that tendency to always try to do that. But what I've realized is that a song is like a painting hanging in a museum, right? It's something that you're going to look at over and over and over. You'll pay tickets 2 or 3 times to go in and see the same painting.
Right.
And that's kind of how I look at these songs now, and it's given me kind of the confidence to take a step back, to slow down the process a little bit, and put that extra time in to knowing that it's going to be something that exists.
Spoken like a true artist, my friend.
trying my best. But,
well, that's a great track. We
thank you.
We listened to all three of them.
We did. You got a behind the scenes look.
I did, and that's exactly why I started this podcast. To give me some behind the scenes.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the recording process of this EP. Because you're still not completely finalized with it.
Right. Yeah. So. Well, the
You're
three
putting the final touches.
Yeah, the 3 tracks are getting mastered right now. So basically, just that way they're all the same volume. Mm-hmm. They all sound like they're off the same record.
Right.
So that's the very last step in the process. But everything leading up to that has kind of been it's been interesting thus far because it's been a learning process for me. I really started writing and trying to get music out probably 3 years ago. I really dove into it. And I knew nothing.
Well, and I remember hanging out with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple times.
Yeah, at my old place. Yeah,
and I remember you were like, let's hang out and write stuff.
Yeah.
I went one time and I was like, I can add nothing to this guy's.
Oh, dude.
I'm telling you, man. I was like, man, I came home actually, and I was like, I was living with some other people at that time, and I was like, that guy's a writer. That guy can write some music.
Thanks, man.
And I don't know if any of them were. I don't think any of them were these songs.
No, I think I played you.
But there were a couple ones.
Yeah, there's a couple that may have been like one of these songs in the early stages.
Right.
I think we had been to the bar. I think we went to the bar first and then went to the bar after too. Yeah. So I don't remember as much about that. But,
well, the other thing we should bring up too, this EP.
Yeah.
Under the Fears.
Under the Fears, correct.
That's self-titled, The Fears.
Yep.
But you do have a song out. It's on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff right now?
Yeah, so Spotify, iTunes, pretty much anywhere music is streamed, you can find it.
And that is just under your name?
Yep, it's under my name, and my name's very hard to spell, so just check the description. It'll be on there. You'll be able to find it. But yeah, I do have, that song is called Made For Us. I put that out in 2017, and then did a little tour with one of my buddies.
His name's Jordan, right?
Jordan, yep. Yeah. Jordan DePaul.
Yep, Jordan DePaul.
Yep. Shout out to Jordan. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
I checked out his stuff, man.
He's a killer.
He's a killer too.
Yep, he is. So, but no, as far as stuff with the Fears, I just I kind of felt like I was being a little stagnant with my writing process, and I wanted to have a band, and I didn't want. I almost felt too much pressure from having everything tied to just my name.
Right.
Because then I'm locked in to this specific thing as a person.
Right.
And I think it's, about more than that.
Typecasted in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I started thinking about people like Shaky Graves, who, there's one guy behind it all, but, he just has a cool moniker and it works.
Right.
Same with like Bon Iver or...
well, it's fun to have that almost persona.
Yeah, it is because
you can do whatever you want.
You get out of your own way almost because it's no longer about you specifically. You're just a part of this thing.
Right, but the band thing is like a whole other animal in itself, right?
Oh,
finding bandmates.
Yeah. Again, back to what we were talking about. Understanding how much hard work and time and dedication any type of creative endeavor takes. It's just a lot harder than you think it will be starting out.
Time consuming. And, with having a band, it's like you have to find people that you don't necessarily need to have the same interest in music, but you have to be on the same page,
right?
And you have to be committed to it. Mm-hmm. And it's it's so hard to find people that have the same vision, for one, and two are committed to putting the work in.
Right. Well, and to me. And this is something I've been dealing with a lot, especially lately, because I'm just, trying to stay on schedule with the release of the music and trying to keep, find people to play shows so that we can support that music, whether it's just a local show or whether we, go on the road. And the three main things that I find that are really hard to find is like what you said, finding somebody that is on the same wavelength. Mm-hmm. So usually you can find somebody that's on the same wavelength, listens to the same type of music, somebody you get along with. But a lot of times they're either, somebody that just really is not very good.
Right.
And I'm very fortunate to. I've never ran into that. All the people that I've met, I've just been so lucky.
Those people usually have the most heart, though.
I know they do,
and that's what the hardest part is. It's like those people like, never miss a practice.
They're like, I'll quit my job tomorrow. I'm like, dude, I didn't quit my job yet, so you don't.
I've heard you play. Don't quit your job.
Yeah, it's funny, but So, and like I said, fortunately, all the people that I am connected with are amazing players. But then the other big thing is usually when you find somebody that's a great player and somebody that is on the same wavelength, has the same vision, they're already in another badass band, you know?
Right.
And so finding time to be even in 2 bands, let alone like trying to do 3 or, you know, you meet people that are really excited about your music and they're like, yeah, I want to play. And then they're like, well, I'm in these 2 other bands. So, like, I could rehearse maybe, you know, like, once every 2 weeks or once a month, and it's just like...
And that doesn't benefit you.
Right. No, it doesn't. And it's just... And it's nothing, you know, it's nothing personal, because I get it. Like, they're in other bands, and they're like, they should pursue that, and they're all really great.
But when it comes to your art...
Right, it's hard.
Like, I want people to dedicate all of their time and not part
well,
of
not even that. It's you know, it's just as much for me, too, because, like, I'm still learning, you know. I'm always, you know, I try to practice piano every day and, you know, just keep getting better and better.
How long have you been playing? Because you're a hell of a musician.
Thank you. So I started playing guitar just kind of like for fun when I was probably 14 or 15.
Really?
Yeah. And I didn't really learn much aside from like 5 chords. And then I just play them, you know. And
2 more chords than Kurt Cobain knew.
That's right. Exactly, yeah. But no, I would just kind of, you know, mess around more or less. And then I moved to Columbus when I was, probably 21. And, you know, I started getting more into music. I became more of an avid listener, and I just paid closer attention to the music I liked, that I'd always listened to.
Well, it's a learning process, part of that, too.
Yeah, learning how to listen to music is a lifetime thing.
Yep.
And I don't think there's anybody out there that has it mastered. You know, it's just you're always learning something new and hearing something new.
Right.
But yeah, I really started taking it more seriously around the time my dad passed away. My dad passed away very suddenly. And he had suffered with alcoholism and mental illness, and he took his own life. And you know, obviously for me and my whole family was a very abrupt change and something that was
absolutely.
Well, just, you know, devastating.
Yeah.
And so...
Your whole life
changes. Everything changes in your life. And, you know, looking back now, I can say a lot of things have changed for the better, and I'm very fortunate for that. But I think that was really when there was a shift for me mentally, because I can remember one of the first things that I thought about was just, like, picking up my guitar and just doing something cathartic just as a release.
Getting that out.
Yeah, and just getting that out. And what I found was that... you know, I was just doing that more and more, and at the time I was doing a lot of freelance work because I went to school to be a web designer, and I was doing a lot of freelance work, kind of, you know, just trying to make a name for myself. But more and more I just felt pulled away from that and more towards music. And so...
So you say, would you venture to say then that, like, through all that, like, you really found the passion part of it as far as, like, a release?
I wouldn't even...
Your emotion.
I wouldn't even say that it was so much a passion for the music. I think that for anybody that goes through something like that, whatever catharsis they are able to find, and myself included, it almost becomes a necessity. Right. So it's no longer about I'm just gonna do this for fun because I like I like to play my guitar and I like to sound cool. It's like, whoa, like
if I don't, I'm gonna
freak out.
Or,
it's just, you know, I'm spinning around the toilet bowl
I have
right
that
now
same feeling, like, creatively.
Right.
If I'm not doing like this or editing or writing.
You just feel you just get that anxiousness.
It's like a cabin fever type of feeling.
Yeah, it is 100%. And I'm glad that I'm not the only one. And you know, you can go through that with many things in life. It doesn't just have to be some tragic moment, you know. But that's just the thing that did it for me.
Right. There's some people though that can find a way to take that lane.
Yeah.
And then there's some people who can't get out of that hole, and, like, you know, that's when you turn to, like, getting drunk every night.
Right. Yeah.
know,
which is
doing it that way, which doesn't ever really fill the void or
it doesn't
release anything.
And I think that I hit a crossroads for a long time and was almost like one part of me was on this crossroad and the other part was here, and I was kind of being pulled in both directions because I had this vision and this idea and what I wanted to accomplish it. And not only that, I knew exactly why I wanted to accomplish it. And the reason was because I wanted to, be there for people on a large scale who are going through something similar.
Right.
Whether it's suicide or whether it's somebody struggling with drug addiction or whether they're struggling with an addiction, anything.
Sure.
I wanted to be able to just say to people through music, like, hey, I get it. Been there. You're not alone. Like, let's just all just be here, you know? And so it was weird to have that vision. That was the very first vision for what I wanted to accomplish. And so then I was constantly being pulled in this direction of like, okay, I have a really great reason for doing this. I'm just going to, wholeheartedly work at it. But then on the other side, I had started to go down this path of, I'm gonna have a few beers, and a few beers turns into a few beers turns into
beers, right?
It's not a few, like 2 or 3 beers in an evening turn, like all of a sudden, now I'm drinking 6 beers and now I'm doing it 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week, and all of a sudden you get to a point where you almost kind of realize you're like, okay, if I don't change this, nothing about my life is ever going to change.
It's going to be the same thing.
And nobody's going to change it for me.
Yep.
And so what I realized was, like, I can go through the rest of my life and, just kind of basically just perpetually get fucked up and probably be okay and probably make it through life and, like, not have any real issues. Mm-hmm. But the part of me on this side of the road, is
it's like,
the whole time, like, hey, get over here. Like, what are you doing? And so it was a big back and forth, and it's we all are always going to go back and forth in life for the rest of our lives. That's part of what life is. But I was finally able to get more onto the right path and make more of the right decisions.
And I think the other problem is too, if you go down that path of like, hey, I'm going to go out for a couple beers, and that turns into 10 beers,
right?
You end up, you might be fine or whatever, you're suffering artistically in that venture, but you don't want to ever end up 20 years from now going, I should have spent more time
why did I
writing music.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the biggest things that I don't want to have to live with regret in any way. And I know that's everybody's goal, I feel like, at the end of the day.
But on the same flip side, I don't think you're really living life if you don't have any regrets.
Right. No, you're not. Right. And believe me, I got plenty of them already.
Well, I mean, that's a natural progression of life, though.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. The biggest thing is as long as you learn from it, which is...
And I think that's a cool thing. I think that's what I love about music, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
Is, like, I love watching an artist go from album to album and watching them
definitely.
grow. As, I might not always like their next album or the direction they're taking, but I like to see them, progress as an artist.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like one of my favorite bands is always Kings of Leon.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
And, like, their albums still rock, but it's not the same as what it used to be.
It's not as raw and
you can't expect it to be.
Yeah.
And, look, they all got fucked up, did their drugs, made a bunch of money, and they're married to supermodels.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
Right. Yeah, and that's what's funny with them specifically, because I really enjoy their music. Yeah. And when I was in high school, was probably Come Around Sundown.
Yeah.
It was around that
time.
That
was Come Around Sundown came out 20. No, that one would have been Come Around Sundown came out 2000.
Maybe it was 14. Maybe it was earlier.
Man. Actually, I think you're about right. Maybe 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was 2012.
Yeah, but I can remember. It's funny because when you go back and listen to their old stuff, like Aha, Shake, Heartbreak.
Yeah.
Youth
and Young Manhood.
The first thing you think of is just like, man, like how much cocaine are these guys?
Right, because those are like
when they were recording
full-bore cocaine albums.
Oh yeah, 100%, and I love it. Like,
and my favorite album is actually Because of the Times.
Yeah, Because of the Times is
and
amazing.
That sounds like it's like one of those perfect albums you put. Like, it's sunset, and you're in your car, and you're getting ready to go out and hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
It's one of those albums you put on. It's like, it's just great.
Man, you're getting me excited about Kings of Leon now. I'm going to have to listen to them tonight. Like, they're so good.
That's what I'm doing. I'm selling some albums for Kings of Leon.
They're so good. I think my favorite song by them is probably Beautiful War.
Beautiful War. It's a good one.
That's a good song. And the music video is so good,
That's a bull riding one, right? Where he goes to prison.
Gets me every time, man.
Yeah, that's
so sad.
They used to have some great music videos, too. I remember... 4 Kicks. Like, well, that was like one of their very first music videos. Yeah. I remember like seeing that on MTV, and that was like the first time I was like, well, who is this?
Yeah,
and I got into it right about then. Yeah, great band. Oh yeah, but, that's the progression of every band.
Yeah, and it's so fun to watch, and they're a perfect example of that because I haven't liked every change they've gone through, but for the most part, it makes sense the direction they're going in, and like people get pissed all the time, and people get pissed about 21 Pilots. I don't know if you listen to them. Yeah, they're like, man, this is not what it used to be, and it's like, well, yeah, it's not. It's not supposed to be.
Well, I think too part of the things that I don't like about most bands' progression is like especially Kings of Leon.
Yeah.
And well, really just most rock bands. Yeah. But especially from that like early 2000s. Is like they had that raw like garage rock, and now once they get signed, they put out a couple albums. Their stuff gets a lot more polished. Yeah, you know, it's like it's. I wouldn't say it's overproduced.
No, but it's produced. Yeah, it's very produced.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff that I feel like that you hear in the early albums is just kind of accidental.
Right.
You know, because that's one thing I've noticed is. The more I learn, the more I'm like, oh, I want my stuff to sound polished and sound good.
Well, it's like you almost enjoy the imperfection.
You do, but that's, and I feel like the fans almost enjoy the imperfections more than the artist. You know?
I agree.
Because I'm sure that when they listen to their music, just like when I listen to my music, I have a completely different perspective.
Sure. Do you like
so far from?
How do you feel about like listening to yourself? Does it make you cringe? Like, do you get uncomfortable? You're happy with it?
I dig it, man. I honestly do because.
You're proud of it, obviously.
Well, I'm proud of it, but honestly, it's weird. It's not the same. You don't get the same excitement of when you listen to a song for the first time that you ends up becoming one of your favorite songs. Like you're just so excited. You're like, whoa, like this is my new favorite thing. I can't wait to listen to this over and over. And it's you don't get that same excitement when you hear your own stuff, but.
Well, but I feel like we also make because I've done the band thing for a short time.
Yeah.
I like. For me, it's like I want to make music that I would listen to.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
100%.
So that's part of it. It's like I don't mind listening to it because this is what I would want to listen to.
Yeah. Well, and that's the one thing that I enjoy about listening to my own music is I enjoy listening to it with other people present. Just because I like to kind of silently sit and just like watch their reaction. You know? And not really even say anything about it, but I was like doing it to you when we were listening.
You want to see how it hits
I'm just kind of sitting there and like seeing just what you're doing, you know, and usually that's like a pretty telltale sign of without asking somebody like, hey, what do you think? You can kind of like judge off of their body language. Because obviously the majority of people that you ask, even if it's terrible, they're at least going to be like, it's good. It's good. Like, I don't know, maybe I still don't know if my stuff's good. You know, we'll have to, wait and see.
Don't you love the middle of the road answer? It's good.
Yeah, it's good, man. Yeah, I like it.
And that's all you get? Yeah. It's good. You'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was just having this conversation with Grant, he's the mixing engineer and all this, and we were working on a song, and he's like, what did you think of this one thing? And I was like, I don't hate it. He's like, oh, yeah, okay. So I'm like, you know, it's funny. But I've never had any, you know, terrible reaction. But
well, listen, I told you when we were listening to it, I think it sounds great.
Yeah, thank you.
I like all three songs. I think they're badass.
Yeah,
I'm excited. They got this like cool vibe that I can relax and listen to. Yeah. And the one song we were listening to, second one we listened
to. It's called I Don't Know.
I Don't Know. Yeah. I like the build up in it.
Yeah.
Build up in it. We were talking about that a little bit too.
Yeah, it's interesting to me.
I like to take people on a ride when they're listening.
Right, and the thing about music that's still really hard for me is that usually when you have too many options, you have trouble making a decision.
Right.
Right, and so there's already limitless possibilities with music.
Right.
But even more so in living in the times we're living in, because you have, you know, this computer right here, with a few bits of software, you can make a hit record.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And you have it all, right? And it's there's never been a better time to do what we're doing.
Just a setup like this, you can make an incredible podcast.
It's an incredible podcast. Yeah,
just what I did there.
Yeah, I did.
I really made that work for me.
Yeah, no, you did. But it's true. Like honestly,
it's crazy. Yeah,
20 years ago, there's no way you could have done this. You would have had to be a radio host.
Yeah, you would have had to get a job, work your way up. Now it's just buy a computer, and you can do it.
Get the computer.
You get a couple cameras.
That's what I did. I've just been slowly accumulating gear over the last couple years, and
you know there is like an oversaturation of content.
There is
tons of content.
There is,
but you know it's like a lot of things like research and podcast stuff is a lot of people want to do a podcast. Most people give up after.
Well, yeah.
You know,
a couple
months.
Yep.
You know, they said like one article I was reading. You know, it's like on average. most podcasts that like take off are usually around for a couple of years.
Oh, dude,
and for me and for you, like this isn't for me. Like I'm not doing this.
No,
I'm doing it because I want to and it's fun.
Right, you enjoy it. I mean?
That's same with music. It's like it's like again, it's a creative thing. You almost have to do.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've noticed too, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Is I used to look at creative endeavors and music and art as a whole and think like, oh, it's all about like this thing taking you up to the top, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, what you realize is that really it's about what we're doing right now. We're making a podcast that not a lot of people know about yet, but that's okay because you're gonna keep grinding it out and build it up. And that's the same thing I'm doing with my music.
Yeah.
But like, what would I rather be doing on a Sunday?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Man. Like, what am I gonna go home and watch?
And we're having fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm gonna go home and watch Stranger Things after this.
Right.
We're getting this out of the way first.
I finished it last night.
Yeah. So
And that was funny too. We were talking before we started too. We were talking about like the 80s influence on some of music, and I was like, I'm feeling it, but it's maybe because I watched Stranger Things last night.
Dude, I love the 80s. It's my favorite era, and I wasn't even alive then.
Yeah,
I feel like I got ripped off.
I got just the last couple years. 88, baby. I wasn't a big 80s fan, though, to be honest.
Really?
With you. I think,
you're more of a 60s and 70s guy.
Yeah, 70s, I would say. I used to be more 60s when I was younger, but I will say this about the 80s. What they got right is I'm not like a huge pop music fan, but pop music in the 80s is like the apex of pop music. It's not going to get any better.
No, dude. People are still ripping off the 80s.
Well, listen, let's take a quick break.
Yeah, let's do it.
And we'll come back and we'll have more with my man Nathan. And we are back with Nathan. We're talking music. Got an EP coming out.
Yes, sir.
First single coming out August 30th.
August 30th, yep.
Looking forward to that. We already touched base a little bit about it in the first half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You also have a show.
Yep.
Coming up on
July
the 26th.
Yep.
So it'll be airing.
The day before, right?
The day before. This will come out the day before.
Nice.
Show's the next night. So go out.
I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Check them out. That's at Gateway.
Yeah.
Campus Gateway or Gateway. I think it's Gateway.
Yeah, Gateway.
And then what else? What else were we going to talk about? First of all, let's talk about the rest of the writing process.
Yeah,
I want to know more about the writing process of the tracks that are coming
Sure.
out.
Yeah. So my writing process has definitely changed a little bit over the last year or so. I use the piano a lot more now. Mm-hmm. I've really been spending a lot of time with the piano, not very much time at all with the guitar. It seems like it makes a little more sense to me in some weird way. I'm just able to kind of decipher my ideas easier on the piano than I am on the guitar. So yeah, I usually start on the piano and I will just kind of find something that strikes me, or maybe I've had something in my head that I was thinking about earlier, and I'll try to form that into an idea. And it usually starts from one idea, like either one line or a chord progression, and I kind of build from there. And then usually what I'll do after that is I will record it into Logic. I'll just record a demo version, just so I can tweak and get my ideas down.
Work with it.
Yeah, kind of find the sound and the feeling of the song, without having to pay to be in a studio. And then what I'll do after that is I'll go to the studio with whoever's going to be playing on the songs with me. I have a buddy in town here who has a really cool studio set up in his basement, and it's nice because it's very cost effective.
Yeah.
And he went to school to be an engineer, and
studio time.
It's expensive. It's really expensive. So really the biggest part of getting everything done is it comes down to money. So when you're self-funding a record, it's quite the undertaking.
We used to record at a place. It's not there anymore. Yeah. But it used to be called Club Sandwich. And we would go in there, and it was pricey, man.
Yeah.
We'd go in there. I think we ended up recording maybe 5 songs.
Yeah.
So like an EP. But it was like, all right, we got to go in here and we got to get
it done.
I'm not trying to be in here for 6 hours.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what's tough is when you're an artist, you want to have unlimited time to work on it, but then you're being pushed and pulled from other directions.
Sometimes it helps you though.
But it does help. Yeah, it does. And that's kind of one of the things that helps me is setting a release date. Yep. And then making myself get to it.
Right.
So right now I'm about 3 weeks behind schedule, unfortunately. But had I not set that in place, who knows where?
Right.
Who knows where we'd be right now?
Yeah.
So you got to take the wins when you can, and kind of realize that you just got to you got to do the best you can with what you have to work with, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's kind of why I've taken the approach I've taken now, because it gives me more time to be able to sit with a song or sit with an idea and be kind of unencumbered, I guess, by money or anything else. So being able to sit at home and just spend a night, like just trying every single sound that I have for a piano, you know, to kind of get capture the right feeling. And then once I have all that, we can go into the studio and do 2 songs in a day. We can get 2 songs done in 6 hours versus coming up with half of a song.
It's like almost like, the more prep time you spend.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Mise en place, as they say in the kitchen. So once we get into the studio, we get everything tracked. And again, I've got a buddy around here that we do that with. He went to Capitol, and he's got a really nice space at his house. And then from there, I'll usually send things off to my buddy Grant out in Austin. And he is an extremely, extremely talented musician and engineer. He has worked with a lot of great artists. He's one of my best friends from school. And he works for Jim Eno, who is the drummer of Spoon. He works for him out in his studio in Austin. Fantastic band.
Love
man.
Spoon.
Yeah, they're just so good, dude. They never do anything wrong.
Yeah. I love, God, I can't think of the name of the album now.
What year?
It would have been
Is it the one with the Underdog?
No, I think it's one after that.
Would have been Inside Out, probably. Or Hot Thoughts. Or is it called Hot Thoughts?
What's the one with Underdog?
That one's Gaga, Gaga, Gaga.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of tracks on that
There's
album.
Some heaters. There's some heaters,
oh, God.
You got your Cherry Bomb.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, The Underdog is like probably my least favorite song on that album. It's like I love that song, but like not.
Yeah, and I remember thinking that exact same thing because I was a Spoon fan because of The Underdog. Right, and then I discovered Spoon years later as the band that they are, and I was like, whoa, like this definitely is not even the best song on this record. Yeah. But I saw it in the movie. God, what was that rom-com from like the 2000s with Zac Efron? 17 Again? 17 Again. That song is in that movie when he's whipping the Audi into the parking lot.
Is that the one? That's the one with, was it Matthew Perry?
Yeah, okay, Matthew Perry's in it. Yep. And, oh man, that song came on in that movie. I can remember being in school and I was, just like this pubescent, like emotional boy. You hear this song come on, you're like, this is the best thing ever.
Just the bass lines and the Spoon songs are just like,
it's I'm
can't help but foot tap. There's some foot tapping songs.
Oh, they are. They're the shit, man. They're so good.
To say the least.
But yeah, so I'm fortunate enough to be able to work with Grant, who he works with those guys. He works with a lot of great artists out there, and he's doing a really great job of making a name for himself.
This is Austin, Texas, right?
Austin, Texas, yeah.
It's the live music capital of the world, right?
Oh, it's up there. Yeah. I think in my opinion, it's surpassed Nashville in certain senses.
Well, I mean, you have Austin City Limits.
Yeah, and you've got what's the other one? ACL is Austin City Limits, and then South by Southwest.
South by Southwest.
Yeah, that one's cool too.
Yeah, they have a bunch of festivals and stuff down there.
Yeah, they do. And what's cool about Austin, and I've been to Nashville a bunch too. I've played in Nashville, and it's an amazing city, and especially over in East Nashville, kind of like the more hip part of Nashville. It's there's something for everybody over there.
Right.
But what I've noticed as far as, and this is just my opinion, there's probably people from Nashville that are like, what's this guy talking about?
Who's this guy think he is?
Who does he think he is? But to me, Nashville is a little more saturated in the sense that it's all sounds more similar.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to Austin and you can walk into a bar.
You get a diverse.
Yeah, you can walk into one bar and you can catch like this. Grant and I did it last time I was out there. We saw this really cool punk show, but then like one venue over, there's like a country show going on, and just
I've never been.
I
need to go.
It's all right there. Yeah, you got to go, man. It's so much fun.
It's a trip.
Yeah,
and
it's
it'll
so
be a
much
podcast episode one day.
Oh yeah, you could do it. It's a blast. Great city, great food, great people.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
you had me at food.
yeah, same. But
anyways, tell me more about the writing.
Yeah, so basically what I do is once we get done here in the studio, I'll just send, they're called stems, and it's just the each track that's going to be blended into the song. I'll send those stems on to Grant, and we'll kind of work remotely to get them sounding the way we want them to sound. He works his magic, and like I said, incredible engineer.
Another thing now that technology has allowed you to work.
Yeah, who would have thought that
remotely.
I could just zip file an
Here
album to somebody and they could do magic? And
it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's insane. So I've relied heavily on him to achieve the sound that we have now. I'm really, really, really happy with the way things are sounding. So yeah, that's basically the final step. Once we get a good mix on something, we'll get it mastered, set a release date, and I just signed on with a really cool company called AWOL. Basically, just a digital distribution deal. So they'll get me placed on a lot of Spotify's playlists, and a lot of like playlists on Apple Music, like the Hot 100, just any of those playlists that you might see, or like Coffee House Hits is one that sticks out to me.
Great to get
but
your name
they just help you,
they
help you get exposure, and you know, a common theme I know that we keep hitting on is how much different things are now than they used to be. But it's actually nice because you know, provided everything goes well with the release and they're wanting to promote it as, you know, something they're involved with and get it on all these channels.
Right.
What's nice is that I still own 100% of the masters.
Yeah.
So I don't have to give up any ownership.
That's good.
Which, you know, to a guy, and then I'm sure you're the same way, like this is, you know, this podcast is your thing. You want it to always be your thing. And you don't want to have to divvy it up in any way.
Yeah, well, and you get more people involved, then it starts becoming more
too many cooks in the kitchen type situation. So yeah, I'm happy that it's not going to be anything like that. And you know, it's different than it used to be in the sense that back in when I was not alive in this time, but it seems like 70s, 80s, and even some in the 90s. You know, labels will discover people. They'll give you a chunk of money. They'll tell you where to go record, and they oversee the process, and that's how the album cycle goes.
Right.
But now it's not that way. You know, it could be. I'm sure there's still people that make it that way.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's just very intriguing to have more creative control, and it's harder. It's harder at the end of the day to really achieve everything you want to achieve. But it's just nice to have that option that people, you know, never used to have. So I'm super excited to kind of see how that goes with this release. But yeah, I'll be heading to Austin to start on the next record,
which is going to be full LP.
Full LP, yep. So right now, hoping for 8 to 10 songs. We'll see how it goes.
Are you already in the process of having?
Yeah, so I've got. We'll be heading out there in August to track 2 songs, and I've already got a couple songs that I've been working on for the last couple of months. And, you know, hopefully it's going to be different this time because I'm actually going to Texas to record.
Right.
And to mix. So I won't be there for all the mixing sessions, probably some
How long are you going to be down there?
6 days, I think.
6 days.
5 or 6 days.
Should be really packing in the work in 6 days.
Yeah, well, and again, kind of back to what I was saying earlier,
the preparation.
We'll get everything done and ready to go so that all we have to do is go in and re-record everything.
Right.
And then if we want to throw anything in, we can, but we'll have kind of a solid base built already. And that'll just save some money, you know, because that way we don't have to. We'll be able to do most of the stuff in Grant's home studio, and then we'll actually go pay and go into the real studio for just a day, probably.
We should also mention too. We haven't mentioned this to people yet, that they're gonna get a first listen. Dare I say at the end of this episode, right?
Yeah.
For
absolutely.
One of the tracks on the upcoming EP.
Yep. So I think we're gonna do hopefully "Love Me Tonight" as the exit music for this, and it'll be a full month before anybody else gets to hear it. So
that's what
exclusive,
podcast
man.
is making happen.
That's exclusive.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that exclusive.
No, I'm excited. Yeah,
I'm excited for people to hear it.
Yeah, I am too. Hopefully it's.
But that'll be fun. You're going down to Austin to record. And that's that'll be a trip.
I'm looking forward to that. Taking. I've got a guy that I've been working with since the new year. It's actually funny because we were talking about being out partying too much earlier, and one of the things that I did around the new year, actually about a month before, was I quit drinking. So I'm at 6 months being sober, no drinking, and
just focusing on the music.
Just kind of trying to change my perspective and just stay in the zone, for lack of a better term.
I just completely get it.
It's hard to stay creative all the time. So
it's like one of those things. It comes and goes, but when it comes, you got to be in the right mind.
You got to be ready to take advantage of that. Yeah. So, but no, one of the things I've been doing is I'm working with my buddy named Josh, and he is a tremendous guitar player, and he went to school for jazz. He majored in jazz, and it's just
the art of improvisation.
Yes,
jazz.
and just a hell of a guitar player. One of the best guys I've ever been around in terms of how well he can play and how much he understands.
And that's always inspiring to see
music and the theory behind it. Oh yeah, it's great. And so he and I are both going to go down. He's going to play guitar on these first couple tracks. And yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be kind of like a work vacation.
You get to do it with your friends.
Yeah, I get to leave the day job grind for a few days and hang out with my buddies, and we'll still be working, but it'll be.
Now this is a question I have.
Yeah.
And I love to ask this question of anybody I talk music with.
Absolutely.
Because I love music, you love music.
Yeah.
What do you remember the very first artist that you heard that like a light went off?
Ooh,
that you were like,
good question.
You were like, oh man, this guy or this person, this artist is like.
Oh man, what's that? There's a couple. I can remember different moments throughout my life. There's probably like 3 or 4 that really stick out.
Okay, so like certain like big moments in your life that you can, like we were talking about earlier, that takes you back.
Yeah.
To think of like an
artist
or a song.
What is it called? Black Water by the Doobie Brothers.
Blackwater.
Oh man, that song makes me think of the Dresden Pool.
The Dresden Pool.
Driving to the Dresden Pool.
Doobie Brothers take you back to the Dresden Pool.
Yes, they do.
Isn't that weird?
It's so weird, but it's what it does.
The Doobie Brothers make me think of the Dresden Pool.
I heard that song and I was like, whoa, so good.
The Doobie Brothers.
But there's another song. I'll give you 3 because I can't pick just one.
No.
Sorry,
please.
There's this other song called "Are You Jimmy Ray." And this is a super deep cut. I don't know that you've ever heard of this.
No, but I love
deep sometime
cuts.
In the 90s. Okay, when you edit, flash up a little like album cover right there of Jimmy Ray.
It's right here now too.
So anyways, this song was like, for some reason to me, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. But come to find out now, looking back, it's like, oh, this guy was just like not even a one-hit wonder. He was like a half of a hit, It wasn't even that big of a deal.
But I love
no
stories
offense,
like
Jimmy
that
Ray,
too,
but just nobody really knew who he is or still knows who he is, But to me, that song will always just like have a special place in my heart because I could listen to it every day.
Right.
But I guess the moment that sticks out to me the most would be kind of the moment when I first considered trying to like write music, and it was hearing the song Elephant by Jason Isbell. And I was probably 19 or 20 at the time. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was working at a music studio called Earthwork Recording in Newark, Ohio.
Yep.
And I was interning there. And somebody that worked there turned me on to Jason Isbell. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And so I listened to the song Elephant. And I don't know if you're familiar with that song, but it's a very, very, it's like the saddest song that's ever been written in history. And just like brought tears to my eyes by the time it was over. And I was like, wow, like that's something special.
Yeah.
And just kind of being able to have that moment, it immediately made me think like, I want to make people feel the way I just felt. Like that's what I want to do.
Similar, very serious, like emotion-driven music experience for me.
Yeah.
Usher Confessions Part
2.
Dude,
honestly,
from senior year.
I can see why.
Junior year.
I can understand.
I'm ripping you a bit, but
yeah.
that album was just that album killed when I was a junior in high school.
Dude, what about 2001 Justin Timberlake?
I never really listened to that.
Justified.
Was it Justified or Justifiable?
Pharrell produced, I think, most, if not all of that.
Yeah, dude. Pharrell, man.
That album.
Pharrell was in Nerd, right? NERD.
That's a good question.
NERD?
I don't know.
Had, like,
that might have been a little
bit
before my time.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Nerd used to be pretty good.
Yeah.
It was like him and one other guy, and they were like mainly like they could produce like some beats and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, what happened to Pharrell? Remember he came out with Happy?
He's still doing it, man.
Better yet, what happened to Timbaland?
Oh, dude, I don't know.
Remember Timbaland used to kill the game?
Dude, he was one of the best producers around.
And then I remember they like put out like a suicide call. Oh. Like they responded to like he was apparently trying to attempt suicide or something.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember it being like in the news.
Yeah,
I don't think we've ever heard of him since.
I don't think so. Maybe he's flying under the radar.
Yeah, but he used to kill it too.
Low. He did, man. I just remember that one song he did with One Republic.
Yeah,
dude. Oh, I know. I remember
what was that guy name? The guy's name from, was it like Ryan Tedder or something like that?
I don't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy used to produce a bunch of, and he was like Aaliyah's producer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he produced all of her stuff.
That's cool.
That guy killed the game for a while. There was a bunch of guys from like the 90s, early 2000s that just like.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what was the other one? He used to like do. It's gonna drive me crazy. He used to produce Little Bow Wow.
Oh no, I can't remember.
It starts with a J. It's like Jermaine Dupri. Jermaine Dupri.
Is it? I don't know. Maybe I have no idea.
That sounds right.
I thought I knew, but
I think it is.
Yeah.
We'll put it up who it is right now.
Yeah.
And I think I'm right, but maybe I'm not.
We'll see.
The 90s and 2000s are just like the music I listened to from that time. Remember like LFO?
Oh, yeah.
Summer Girls. Mm-hmm. I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah, I don't know how I ever liked that song, but I still do, man.
There are some songs that I remember, like, my mom would take me into the mall, and she would let me buy, like, once a week, she would let me buy a single.
Oh, nice.
And this was like...
Into FYE?
Yeah. And at the time when FYE, it was Camelot Music and Disc Jockey.
Oh.
We had two in the mall.
Was this in Zanesville? Oh, we did? In Zanesville?
We had two. We had Camelot Music and Disc Jockey.
Okay.
And then FYE bought.
Oh, that's
right. And they merged. They called it FYE.
Yeah.
But she would let me go in and buy one single a week.
Yeah.
And it started out with me buying, like, they had them on, like, tapes.
Yeah.
On cassettes.
Yeah.
And then they came out with the CDs, and you're like, oh, CDs, it's the new thing. Yep. Tapes are gone. Cassettes are gone.
Yeah.
And you would buy, it'd come with, it was like a 45.
Yeah.
You'd have your A and B side.
Yep.
And she would let me buy, one a week. And I bought some really bad ones, man.
Oh, yeah.
There was some really questionable purchases.
I bet there was.
But you know what? To her credit, she let me buy them.
Yeah.
They were cheap as shit.
Yeah, absolutely. She just made you pick from the bargain bin.
Yeah, well, I mean, they should have been in the bargain bin. Some of them. They were bad. But yeah, it's funny to think about, like, all the music from, like, like growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Because what's our age difference? You're how old?
I'll be 26 this week.
26.
Yeah, on the 12th.
Old bastard.
31? Oh, you're not that old.
Yeah.
Feels so just a few years. Yeah. I think you were out of high school by the time I started.
Yeah.
Well, what year did you graduate?
2006.
Oh, yeah. See, I was graduated at 12, so you're, just like a year on each side.
Yeah, they tried to keep me there.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, I'm
surprised I made it out as quick as I did.
Yeah, it's funny though to think about all the music and stuff and like.
Oh yeah.
The movies and stuff that came out when we were in school.
Oh man.
So you probably had like a little different. Like I remember the boy band scene.
Yeah, well, I remember NSYNC.
Yeah, NSYNC.
Dude, Gone by NSYNC. That's my jam.
First of all, just bought an incredible NSYNC shirt.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
From the first album.
Nice,
first album cover.
Yeah.
I had to. I saw it. I was like,
so NSYNC or Backstreet Boys? Who was your?
Oh God, man! I'm gonna be honest. I was a Backstreet Boys guy.
See, I was an NSYNC guy.
That's your younger
that's
generation.
Why. You're right. That's why.
There's the new kids on the street.
Yeah. They were.
Not new kids on the block.
Nah, that's something different.
Kids on the street.
That's something different. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember all of that, and it's funny because I think about this too. Like, I listen to a lot of music that like my parents grew up on, and so now I'm like all of a sudden I'm digging music from the 40s and 50s and the 60s, and it's just funny, and that's why I get a lot of the 80s influence and why I like the 80s so much, because my mom was more into the 80s. So my dad, we always listened to Led Zeppelin, The Doors, all of that, and I love it all. My mom was always listening to more of like she was either doing like the Carpenters or like Prince or like Phil Collins.
Let me ask you a question. I'm interested in what your answer is to this. Do you think that let's be honest, most music that came out in the 60s and 70s, first of all, it's so good that they literally call it classic rock, right? It's so good, it's classic rock.
Yeah.
I don't see classic pop. I'm sure they do have that, but it's not like widely recognized as a genre as much as classic rock is, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it is about that time of music and that music in general that it makes it so much better than like a majority of the rock music, for instance, coming out now?
I do have a theory on this. I'm glad you asked because, aside from all the obvious stuff that people always say, oh, the good drugs, it was an awakening and a rebirth of the country, and that's true in a lot of ways.
Sure.
The country was going through a lot of shit that forced people to either be rebellious or to just like try something different and speak out and be different. And I'm definitely not taking away from any of the music that was created then, but I think that we're just as much on the verge of that now too.
I think we're getting
in a different way. I mean, the reason it's classic rock is because it's from as long ago as it was. So like you were talking about classic pop. I think in another 15, 20 years we will have classic pop.
Sure. I think a lot of that's probably in part because pop is like really popular now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pop
I guess any music that's popular is considered.
But I don't think you're listening to like the music that was from that time. You don't hear a whole lot of it on the radio today.
No, you don't.
Like newer versions, modern versions of that kind of music.
No, you don't. And I think a lot of that has to do with now we're in a more digital age and we have access to millions of sounds and samples, and people will probably never use any of them twice. Right. It's so hyper specific now, and we've gotten so much better at mixing audio in a scientific way that we know feels better to people's ears, and that's why sometimes you like catch yourself just bopping along to a song, and it's just because it's mixed well, and it just gives you that vibe. Right. And we didn't have that as much back then. Everything back then was more raw, and it was more emotional. And that's one thing I think that we lack nowadays.
I agree, 100%.
Is that same emotional input. And I'm not saying nobody does it. There's plenty of artists that are amazing.
But I think the stuff now is a lot more manufactured. Like the lyrics, it's not a lyric.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff is mainstream. It's not lyrically driven anymore.
Yeah.
As opposed to that stuff, a lot of people, the lyrics were so poignant because people were paying attention to a lot more of the lyrics then, and those people were singing about relative things that were happening.
Yeah, and I think that it's just tough because we tend to look at a very isolated pool and compare that to what used to be.
Sure.
Because really the only thing that we still care about from back then was the best of the best.
Right.
And we weren't in the oversaturation then. We didn't hear all the bullshit that probably came out and people were like, fuck this.
But we do. I know you're the same way I am. I love the deep cuts.
Oh, yeah.
I love the B-sides.
Yep.
I'm not, like, the mainstream stuff is what it is. But it's like, every time I listen to a classic rock station, do I have to hear Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall, Part 3 every single time?
Dude,
it's like
it drives me crazy.
They have 100 songs you can play from Pink Floyd.
And that's, dude, I don't know about you, but I don't listen to the radio anymore.
I don't either.
I don't.
I have Bluetooth in my car, and I listen to Spotify, and I have my stuff.
I do Apple Music, which is the same thing, basically. But,
and again, back to the technology thing. That's like a huge theme in this episode, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But
it's
we
so
have the
true.
amount of options now.
Right. Well, that's what's great about you and I both. We're both in a position where we're trying to promote something and kind of cut through the noise. Now with things like with AWOL, one of the things that they do is, like I said, they'll get you placed onto playlists. But it's not just in the States. I mean, that's worldwide. So when I put my single out, when I put Made for Us out, in 2017, I was getting plays in Brazil. I was getting plays in Germany. I was getting plays everywhere, you know? And it's just crazy to think that we're at a point now where that can be achieved.
Hilarious note about that same point.
Yeah.
This podcast, I have like 70 downloads in Detroit. I know one person who lives in Detroit.
That's awesome, though.
How the hell did it even get to Detroit?
We would have never been able to get that information 15 years ago. There's
hats off. Thank you, Detroit.
Yeah. Shout out to Detroit, man. They're making a comeback.
Yep.
They're making a comeback.
I'm gonna be the third famous white guy in Detroit. Eminem, Kid Rock, Joby
Butler,
maybe Ted Nugent. I don't think he's really that famous anymore. I think he's kind of went off.
Yeah, he's off the rails, man.
He's a special cat.
Yeah, I can't keep up with.
Well, hey man, let's mention it one more time.
Yeah.
The Fears, self-titled album, coming out soon, right?
Yep.
First single, August 30th.
August 30th.
Show, July 26th at Gateway. Make sure you guys check out this guy. He rocks.
Thank you, sir.
Listen, man, this has been fun. And
yeah,
I'm looking forward to the EP and the upcoming album.
I'm excited for the world to hear it. I'm excited. I hope everybody likes it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get to hear the single on the way out.
Yep. So you guys enjoy that. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.